Hello students, welcome back. I hope you're all well. So today we will begin with a very new story which is Alice in Wonderland, written by Lewis Carroll. He was an English writer, mathematician, logician and a photographer. He was born in Dursbury, Cheshire, England. His most famous writings are Alice's Adventure in Wonderland and his sequel Through the Looking Glass. His writings are excellent examples of literary nonsense, a style of writing that balances logic and nonsense through the clever use of words. He passed at the age of 65. So this story is about a little girl named Alice who on a one lazy Sunday afternoon went outdoors and sat under a tree. While she wondered what to do, she saw a strange white rabbit run by her. She followed the rabbit quickly entered inside a hole, and Alice, in the process of catching hold of the rabbit, fell into the rabbit hole and finds herself in a strange, dreamlike land, where she finds everything different. Let us now find out what happens in the story. Let's begin. Alice was wandering around in Wonderland, lost and confused, when she saw the Cheshire Cat sitting quietly in the branches of a nearby tree, watching her and smiling to itself in a good-natured sort of way. So what happened? Alice was roaming here and there. She was quite confused. She didn't know where to go, what to do and all this. Okay? And suddenly what happened? She saw a cat which was sitting on a tree and it was watching Alice and smiling. Next. "Oh Cheshire Cat," she said shyly, "can you please tell me which way I should go from here?" So what happened? Alice called out for the cat. Now Cheshire Cat is a particular kind of cat which is found mostly in a place named Cheshire in England. Okay, so Alice asked that cat if it knew the way, if it knew the direction where she should go. And to her query, the cat replied that it depended on where she wanted to go. Next. "I don't know where I want to go, so it doesn't matter where," said Alice. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go," interrupted the cat, vanishing suddenly. "As long as I get somewhere," finished Alice hopelessly. So what happened? Since Alice had no idea where she should go or where she should like to go, okay, it actually didn't matter to her, and the cat stopped and replied that it doesn't matter which way she goes, and it vanished in the air. Okay, vanish means to disappear. Okay, and Alice completed her sentence by saying that as long as she gets somewhere. Okay, next. The cat suddenly reappeared in the tree, giving Alice a fright. "In that direction," the cat said, waving his right paw. "Lives a hatter, and in that direction," it waves its left paw, "lives a March hare. Visit either, they are both mad." So what happened? The cat suddenly appeared again and Alice was frightened to see the cat again. Now the cat, pointing towards the right direction, said that a hatter or a person wearing a long hat lives in that direction, and pointing towards the left direction said that a March hare, means a rabbit, lives in that direction, and Alice could meet either of them, and both of them are mad as well. Okay? Now, "But I don't want to meet mad people," said Alice, quite upset at the idea. "Oh, you can't help that," said the cat. "We're all mad here. I am mad, you are mad." Okay? "How do you know I am mad?" said Alice. So what happened now? After hearing all this, Alice became upset and said that she didn't want to meet any mad people. Okay, and to her statement, the cat replied that you can't help that. You don't have any other choice than to meet them, as everyone is mad over here, and Alice too is mad. Now students, as the story is fully imaginative, you would find various unnatural things going on here. Okay, so now what happened here? Alice asked the cat that how come? Do you know that I am mad? Okay, to her question the cat replied that see, if you were not mad then you wouldn't have been here in this place. Okay, and after saying this it again vanished into the air. Now Alice waited, expecting to see the cat again, but it did not appear. So she walked in the direction of the March Hare's house. I should visit the March Hare, she said. As this is the month of May, it won't be as mad as it was in March. As she said this, she looked up and there was the cat again. So what happened now? After the cat had vanished into the air, Alice was waiting and hoping to see the cat again. But unfortunately, it did not appear. So not knowing what to do, so she walked in the direction of the March Hare's house. She thought that since it was the month of May, the hare might not be that mad, as it was supposed to be in the month of March. And while thinking all this, she looked up and found that the cat reappeared once again. Next. We're all mad, the cat laughed, floating upside down in mid-air. So what happened? The cat started to float upside down in the mid-air and started to laugh and say it loud that we're all mad here. Okay? Next. I wish you wouldn't keep appearing and disappearing so suddenly. You make me dizzy, scolded Alice. So this time Alice became very angry and scolded the cat and said him that not to reappear again and again, as it was making her dizzy. Okay? Now, the cat replied. All right, said the cat, and this time it vanished very slowly, starting from the tip of its tail and ending with a smile which floated in the air for a while after the rest of it had gone. So what happened? The cat said all right and started to vanish into the air slowly. Next. Well, I have often seen a cat without a smile, thought Alice, but a smile without a cat is the strangest thing I ever saw in my life. So now she started to think that she had often seen cat without a smile, but it was a very unusual thing to see a cat with a smile, and it was one of the strangest things she had ever seen in her life. Alice had not gone far before she saw the March Hare's house. She knew it immediately because the chimneys were shaped like ears and the roof was thatched with fur. When she peeped over the hedge, she saw a very strange sight there. At a long table under a tree in the garden sat the March Hare and the Hatter. Between the two mad people sat a dormouse, fast asleep, and the two were using the sleeping dormouse as a cushion, resting their elbows on it. So what happened? After walking for a while, she saw March Hare's house. She could easily identify, yes, it is March Hare's house from the chimneys which were shaped like ears and the roof made with fur. Okay. Now when she looked into the house secretly from the fence, she saw a very strange thing. What did she see? She saw that there was a long table laid under a tree, and there the March Hare and the Hatter was sitting, and in between them there was a mouse which was sleeping, and both of them were using the mouse as a cushion to rest their elbows. Now, the table was a large one, but the three sat crowded together at one corner of it. No room, they called out when they saw Alice coming. But there's plenty of room, said Alice angrily, and sat down in a large armchair at one end of the table. So now, see, the table was a big one, but still they sat together at one corner, and when they had seen Alice coming towards them, they started shouting and saying that no room means there is no space. Okay. Now Alice became very angry and said that, but I see a plenty of space here. And having said this, she sat down on a big armchair which was kept at one corner of the room. Have some juice, March Hare offered politely. Alice looked at the table. There was nothing on it but tea in teapots of different shapes and sizes. I don't see any juice, she said. There isn't any juice, said the March Hare. Then you are very rude to offer me something you don't have, said Alice angrily. Well, you were very rude to sit down at our table without being invited, said the Marcher. So now, Marcher said very politely to Alice to have some juice. But what happened? Alice found that there was nothing on the table except tea in some teapots, and after having seen nothing on the table, she said that she can't see any juice over there. And to this, the Marcher replied that yes, there isn't any juice. And now Alice became very angry and said that it's a very rude thing to offer something to someone when you don't have that thing. Okay? And now the Marcher counterattacked her, saying that it was also a rude behavior on Alice's part to sit down at the table where she is not invited. Okay? You need a haircut, said the Hatter, who had been looking at Alice for a long time. Next, you'd not make personal comments about other people, Alice said. It's very rude. Why does a raven like a writing desk? Asked the Hatter, ignoring her remark. I think I can guess why, said Alice. Do you mean that you think you can find out the answer? Asked the Marcher. Exactly so, said Alice. So now, all of a sudden, the Hatter said to Alice that she needs a haircut. And Alice replied that it's very rude to make personal comments about other people. And then the Hatter, ignoring the remark made by Alice, asked a question that why does a raven means a crow, okay, like a writing desk. Now students, just look at the conversation which is going on. See, there is no connection in between. Now see, Alice replies that perhaps she can guess why. Now the Marcher asked her that does she mean that she can find out the answer? And to it, Alice said yes, exactly. She thinks that she can find out the answer. Then you should say what you mean, the Marcher went on. I do, Alice replied. At least I mean what I say, that's the same thing, you know. Not the same thing, said the Hatter. You might as well say that I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. Or that I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like, added the Marcher. So now see, they are all discussing about something which has no meaning at all. Okay? The conversation stopped for a while and they sat all silent while Alice tried to remember what she knew about ravens and writing desks, which wasn't much. Have you guessed the answer of the riddle yet? The Hatter asked, turning to Alice. No, I give up, Alice replied. What is the answer? I have no idea, said the Hatter. Neither do I, said the Marcher. Alice sighed. Don't you have anything better to do rather than wasting time in asking riddles that you have no answers? So now what happened? Their conversation has stopped for a time being and they were all silent, and Alice was trying to remember whatever she knew about the raven and the writing desk. Okay, so Alice was trying to solve the riddle which was asked to her, and when the Hatter asked her that if she have found out the answer or not, she replied that no, she has not found out the answer yet and declares that she wants to give up. And now both the Hatter and the Marcher said that they too doesn't have any idea regarding the answer. And after hearing this, Alice sighed and posed a question to them that whether they have any other work or not, then to ask stupid questions and spending the time. Now, let's change the subject, said the Marcher, yawning. I'm getting tired of this. Tell us a story. But I don't know a story, said Alice. So, what happened? The Marcher suggested that they should change the topic as he was getting tired and asked Alice to tell them a story. And to it, Alice replied that she doesn't know a story. Okay, next. Then the Dormouse will. Wake up, Dormouse. They both shouted as they pinched it on both sides at once, waking it up. Tell us a story, said the March Hare to the sleepy Dormouse. And hurry up, or you'll be asleep again before you can even finish it, added the Hatter. So now, since Alice didn't know any story, so they suggested that the Dormouse would tell them a story and then started to pinch the mouse on both the sides of the body and started to wake it up. And after waking the mouse up from his sleep, March Hare said that the Dormouse to tell them a story and the Hatter to added that the Dormouse should hurry up or else it will again become asleep before finishing the story. Okay. Next. Once upon a time, there were 3 little sisters. The Dormouse began in a great hurry, and their names were Elsie, Lassie, and Tilly. And they lived at the bottom of a well. So, what happened? So, the Dormouse started telling them a story that once upon a time there were 3 little sisters whose names were Elsie, Lassie, and Tilly, and all of them lived at the bottom of a well. Next. What did they eat? Interrupted Alice, who was always very interested in food and drink. They ate treacle, said the Dormouse after thinking for a minute or two. They couldn't have done that, said Alice. They would have fallen ill. So did they, said the Dormouse, very ill. So now Alice stopped the Dormouse in between the story and asked what did they eat. Since Alice was very interested in eating and all, so she all of a sudden asked that what did those sisters eat? And to her query, the Dormouse thought for a while and replied that they used to eat treacle. Now treacle is a golden yellow colored syrup, a drink actually. Okay. Now again, Alice replied that they should not have eaten that, as it would make them ill. Now Dormouse said that yes, and they had fallen very ill. Now, Alice tried to imagine what it would be like living in a well and eating nothing but treacle, but it confused her too much. So she said, but why did they live at the bottom of a well? So now what happened? Alice tried to imagine that how it would have been like living a life at the bottom of a well and having nothing to eat except treacle, and now she became even more confused and couldn't understand that why did those 3 sisters used to live at the bottom of a well. Next. Have some more tea, the March Hare said to Alice very politely. I have nothing yet, Alice replied, so I can't take more. You mean you can't take less, said the Hatter. It's very easy to make more than nothing. So now the March Hare, in a very gentle manner, said Alice to have some more tea. But Alice replied that she had not taken anything yet, and how come she can take more? The Hatter now said that she can't take anything less, as it is very easy to take more than nothing. Next. Alice did not know what to say to this, so she helped herself to some tea and bread and butter, and then turned to the Dormouse and repeated her question. Why did they live at the bottom of a well?
Definitely a curse. That has to be reversed.
The Dormouse took a minute or two to think about it and then said, it was a treacle well. There is no such thing, Alice said, but angrily. But the Hatter and the March Hare said, shh, shh. And the Dormouse said, if you can't listen, then you can finish the story for yourself. So what happened? Alice now didn't know what to say. So she took some bread and butter and tea and asked a question to the Dormouse that why did the sisters live at the bottom of a well? And now the Dormouse took a while to answer it and said that it was a treacle well, and Alice this time became very angry and replied that there is nothing called treacle well. But the March Hare and the Hatter stopped her and asked her to remain quiet. And the Dormouse too said that if she doesn't want to listen to the story, she can finish the story by herself. Next. No, please go on, said Alice. I won't interrupt again. And so these three little sisters were learning to draw, continued the Dormouse. What did they draw? Interrupted Alice, forgetting that she had promised not to interrupt. So now, this time Alice said that the Dormouse to continue with the story and promised that she won't interrupt again. And the Dormouse started to continue the story that the three sisters were learning to draw. And this time too, Alice stopped the Dormouse, asking yet another question that what did the three sisters draw? She had completely forgotten that earlier she had made a promise not to interrupt in between. Next. Trickle, said the Dormouse without thinking. Alice did not wish to offend the Dormouse again, so she said very softly, "But I don't understand. Where did they draw the Trickle from?" "You can draw water out of a water well," said the Hatter. "So you could draw Trickle out of a Trickle well." "But they were inside the well," Alice said. "Of course they were," said the Dormouse. "Well in." So now what happened? The Dormouse replied that the sisters were learning to draw Trickle. Here draw means to extract or to take out something. And this time Alice did not wish to make the Dormouse angry by asking questions again and again, and so she asked very softly that where did they draw Trickle from? And to this question the Hatter replied that as you can draw or take out water from a water well, in the same manner Trickle could be drawn out from a Trickle well. Now after hearing this, Alice again had a question and said that but they were all inside the well. Then how can it be possible? And to this the Dormouse said that yes, they were all inside the well. So everything was very confusing to Alice. She could not understand anything. Next. This answer was so confusing that Alice let the Dormouse speak for some time without interrupting it. They were learning to draw, said the Dormouse. The Dormouse went on, yawning and rubbing its eyes, and they drew all kinds of things that begins with an M. "Why with an M?" asked Alice. "Why not?" said the March Hare. So what happened? As I said that everything was confusing for Alice as she could not understand anything, so she did not say anything and allowed Dormouse to continue with the story without stopping it. So the Dormouse continued the story by saying that they were learning to draw everything that begins with M. And this time again Alice could not stop herself from asking a question that why only with M? And the March Hare replied that why not? Okay. Next. Alice became silent. The Dormouse had closed his eyes and was nodding off to sleep, but on being pinched by the Hatter, it woke up again with a little squeak and went on. That begins with an M, such as mousetraps and the moon and memory and muchness. Did you ever see such a thing as drawing out of muchness? Really now, interrupted Alice again, I don't think. Then you shouldn't talk, said the Hatter. So now Alice became silent and the Dormouse too had closed his eyes and fell asleep. But again the Hatter pinched it and the Dormouse woke up and began the story by saying that everything that begins with M, such as mousetraps, moon, memory and muchness, so all these things were drawn by those girls. And now the Dormouse posed a question that whether they had seen such a thing, drawing of muchness, and to this Alice again interrupted, saying no, she don't think so. And the Hatter stopped her, saying that since she doesn't know, then she should not talk. This was more than Alice could bear. She got up and walked away. The Dormouse fell asleep instantly, and the Hatter and the March Hare ignored her. Although she looked back once or twice, hoping that they would call her back, the last time she looked, they were trying to put the Dormouse into the teapot. I will never go there again, said Alice angrily as she walked away. It is the stupidest tea party I have ever been to in my all life. So now Alice was fed up listening to such baseless and nonsensical stories, and she got up from there and started to walk away from there. Okay, and the dormouse too had fallen asleep again, and she started to walk away. Both the March Hare and the Hatter ignored her, and as she was walking away, she looked back to find out if they would call her or not. Okay, and when she looked back, she saw that they were trying to put the dormouse into the teapot. And while walking away, she decided that she would never go there again. It was one of the stupidest tea party she had ever seen in her life. So, students, this was all about the story. Hope you all have understood it and enjoyed it. Thank you.